All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join me tonight. Um, this topic is kind of near and dear to my heart. I was a director of pen testing at my last job, and as one of the only guys to kind of run the shop most of the time, one of the big things to me was making sure we had repeatable infrastructure that happened all the time. Um, like I said, tonight's a pretty big milestone for me. I got over 100 followers, and so I wanted to do a couple giveaways, and I'll kick off these during the presentation. So feel free to enter if you're following. You can definitely enter. I'll start off one now. Hopefully it should come up. All right, there we go. Uh, there you go. All right, so you can just enter the raffle, and then that should get you entered in to win a 2016 Black Hat stick. Okay, so let's talk about automating your infrastructure. Some of you guys may have followed me before on Twitter. Some of you new. Some people maybe just found me through other retweets. I appreciate everyone retweeting this. I appreciate everyone sharing this out. My name's Tobias McCurry. I'm like a Nova Hacker ambassador in the Northern Virginia area. I was a 10-year Air Force veteran, and I've been doing information security for about 15 years. Majority of the time, I'm doing pen testing, but I like to do infrastructure as code a lot and automation. The QR code will go to that link tree, which will include the GitHub, my Medium, and some other social accounts. I will be posting a detailed blog post on this after this, along with the GitHub repo, so that you guys can um, use that information and hopefully take it and do this in your own shop or do this in your home lab or anything like that. So I'll give you about a couple seconds here in case you want to capture that or see that. And I'll post this video on YouTube too. That way people can kind of see this later. All right, the two W's and an H. What, why, and how. So what? We're going to be talking about using multiple technologies, make an easy deployment solution. Um, so again, this is something to kind of make it easy for you to log into this thing and click a button, and it will start up your infrastructure in the same way every time. So the why, if you're repeating a task more than twice, it should be automated. This should be like a mantra. If you're doing scans a certain way, if you're doing anything like that, you should always be looking to automate that and make that easier for yourself and make it a repeatable task. And then a how. We're going to be using I used open source technologies, and this is detailing that ability. So it's a no cost to you uh, besides time to do this type of stuff. So I need to introduce some technologies here in order to help you understand how to kind of do all this stuff together. And the three technologies is Rundeck, Terraform, and Apache Guacamole. So Rundeck, there's the link for it. And again, this will be detailed in the blog post on my Medium account. So Rundeck is an automated runbook that works the way that you want it to work, built for both modern distribution ways of working and centralized legacy environments. You'll resolve incidents quicker and improve productivity of your teams. Runbook is basically a way to click a button and do multiple tasks on either a box or on a system without having to do something or look at a run book and things like that. It basically could make it so you can do your job easier and quicker. This is a great product to do like help desk or again repeatable tasks like say you're adding people to certain groups and things like that. Rundeck could do all this stuff for you. Is the audio good for everybody? There were some people saying echoes earlier, and I just want to make sure. Okay, awesome. All right, Terraform. We talked about this last stream. Um, Terraform is infrastructure as code, and you basically use providers to do the tasks that you make it, that you write the code for. And they have providers for many different services, like Akamai, AWS. In this case tonight, I'm gonna be using Google. I somehow botched my AWS account really bad, where it won't do default networking anymore, and I got to look into that. But that's the thing. And there's other stuff there that you can use. I highly suggest kind of looking at Terraform and trying to understand it, especially if you build lab environments. If you build anything that you consistently have to spin up or spin down, using this infrastructure as code will help you document what you're installing and the processes, and then also make sure that it's repeatable and testable every time. And then we're going to tie this in with Apache Guacamole. So Apache Guacamole is a clientless remote desktop gateway, supports protocols like VNC, RDP, SSH, and they call it clientless because there's no plugins, there's no software. You access this stuff in a browser. And that's the great part of this, is that you could do RDP, SSH, VNC, or Telnet via Guacamole without having to install anything. If they have a web browser, they can access this and use that. For the raffle, we got about 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. So if you're a follower, get that raffle in there. Looks like we definitely have a great chance for someone to win. About 20 tickets, 20 people have done. All right. So some of the gotchas, and again, I'll show you a little bit of screenshots here and there, and I'll explain this here, but the blog post will really make this stand out. Um, so when you set up Rundeck, one of the big gotchas that ended up happening was that Rundeck runs as local host, and if you do not edit these two files, you're not able to access the web interface, and that kind of got me for a while. And it took a while to get into the documentation and kind of figure this out and figure out where this hangup was at. And so that's what it kind of looks like here on the framework's properties. You can kind of see here the framework server host name and the URL, and then the Grails .server URL need to be changed to the actual IP addresses of the server. I don't know why they don't have it kind of pull that and do that, maybe as a security precaution. But yeah, once you change that, then you can access it from anywhere, and that makes it so much easier and so much more useful. Another deployment gotcha. I like to use a system to do a job. So in this case, because we're using 3 different technologies, I had 3 different systems. For me, that's just making it so that I can ensure security around that system is, as appropriate as it needs to be. And so for the Rundeck one, I need to access my Terraform system, my Terraform deployer. And at first, what I did is I basically put the SSH key on the box and then kind of use this XML project format to reference it and be able to SSH into it. The blog post shows you how to actually put it into the key store and then reference it via that key store, which is way more secure than doing it this way. Um, but yeah, that was one of the things that kind of was not very clear, and I couldn't find a lot of instructions on. We got about 35 seconds left, so if you haven't done the raffle, please go ahead and enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the name, and I'll message you on Twitch later to get like an address to send this to you. It's a physical thing, so I'll have to send it to you. All right. Looks like 15 seconds. Count down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, the winner. Okay, now I need to pick a winner. All right, cool. Oh, the blind hacker. All right, I'll get with you, blind hacker, and send that over to your way. No, there's no way it's rigged. I totally let Streamlabs picked it. That's all right. We got other raffles. I got 2 more raffles for you guys. I'll start the other one here. So we'll complete that one. And sorry, I'm new to this raffle thing, and I'm new to Twitch and doing some of this stuff. All right, so this one is for 5 minutes, and it's for a DEF CON 24 thumbstick. And if the blind hacker wins again, I will definitely make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay. All right, let's move on. So let me show you a Rundeck preview here. All right, I got it. So this is what Rundeck looks like. It's a nice little graphical interface. It's web-based. The default creds to log into this is admin. So any pen testers out there, that's something to take note of. Is if they haven't changed any username or passwords, the default is admin. When you log into Rundeck as an admin, I've already set up a project, but this is usually blank, and it just kind of tells you that you can create a project and the version number. Rundeck does have the ability to do access control, and it's in the web interface, and I thought that was really kind of awesome about that, especially since some of the files I had to kind of edit by hand. But here you can set up users and policies. If you connect this to LDAP at my new place of work, that's what I've kind of did. And then you can set up groups in LDAP to be able to, manage the ability to access certain projects or things like that. Again, that's a very advanced topic for tonight. I just kind of want to give you that idea and show you how to do that. And then, basically they would only see those projects. Um, and so, like, again, you can just edit these by clicking on the interface, and that'll set this up to basically change this by group, or you can put by user. They have it's kind of like an XML type format or JSON, but not really JSON. Broadcast ended popped up. Is anyone else? No. Stream's still going. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Some people are seeing that. So you can edit the system ACL policies. Yeah. And then another part of this is the key store. So this is where you would store like passwords or anything like that, or upload keys if you needed to. The interesting thing about this is that once you upload them, you can't read them or see them. So, there's no ability to kind of get that back out. The only way you reference it is through this keys, Terraform key. Uh, this link basically here, this storage path. And then another cool feature that I thought was great is that it will keep a log of whoever ran the commands and when they ran them. You can, also kind of look at your memory size and things like that. All right, cool. There's other people saying the broadcast is still going. It might have just dropped on mobile. And then they're always consistently developing plugins to do better stuff. One of the things that I did kind of notice that you kind of have to get Enterprise to more support Windows via WinRM, and I thought that was kind of a bummer. But with Windows now supporting SSH, you could probably do it that way. All right, this raffle seems like it's about to end. It's got about 20 seconds left. So this one's going to be a USB stick of DEF CON 24. Sorry, I'm writing down who's going to win. So got about 5 seconds left. All right. Closing the entries and picking a winner. All right, K Trey you won. So I'll contact you after the stream to get some details from you to send that over. All right. And then I'm going to do one last one tonight. And that's for it is NetMux's new book, Operator Handbook, is a great material. If you have not picked this up in the Amazon store, you should pick it up. This book is so thick and it has so much stuff in it. All right, so that one should be kicking off now, and it's got a 5-minute timer on that one too. All right. So again, we can look at the plugins. They have PagerDuty, VMware, and you can see they specify enterprise ones by having the enterprise exclusive. So that was the only thing that was kind of a let down on some of these was if it was some kind of functionality that you needed, and it was enterprise exclusive, you had to work around it basically. All right, so what else did I want to show off in Rundeck? Yeah, I think that was it for Rundeck there. So we'll go back to projects and then a Twitch demo, and I'll show you that when we get done here. Okay, all right. So that was Rundeck. Come on, Google. All right, so then the next part was Terraform, and Terraform is again the language and such that you're going to use to deploy this infrastructure. And then one of the big gotchas for your Terraform, I feel, was the amount of permissions you have to give to an account for it to start up. And just to kind of show you what that means is this is my Terraform service account here in Google, and it has 325 permissions. the Cobalt Strike leak. So yeah, you have to have all these um, permissions to kind of be able to create some of this. And the reasoning for it is because of the way it touches everything to spin up infrastructure. And you can play with this and try to keep doing Terraform, apply, and see if that works for you. I just find it best to just add everything, which is not the most secure way. So for the Terraform, we kind of went over this last stream. The way Terraform works is it reads in the main directory any TF file, and this is basically running reading the source from modules get Google HTTPC2. And so then it reads the main.tf file there. And you can see it's reading the gcloud JSON, which is the service account JSON right here. And then it's calling a Google Compute instance and then naming it a variable of HTTPC2. It's going to spin up that as an N1 standard one in US Central 1. It's using the image of Debian Cloud. And then we're going to provide it some metadata. So the way that Google kind of works is you have to give it the SSH keys via metadata by providing it a public key. All right, and for the handbook, we got about 35 seconds left. All right, so the way Terraform works is if you're going to send files, you call a provisioner file. It then reads the source and the destination. So the source in this case is reading these files here. It's just a Docker compose. Are you deploying Guac in a Docker via TG? Yeah, not in Terraform, but I'll show you how I'm deploying Guac via Docker container. And then it's going to use those SSH creds to basically SSH into the instance. All right, so the entries are closed. All right, and we're going to pick a winner and flag CTF. All right, so flag CTF. I'll contact you and have that shipped out. All right, so I know the raffles are done, but please stay for the stream. I promise you'll get something out of it. So the next provisioner that you can call is a remote execute, and so this executes on the box that you're deploying to. So once Terraform ends up spinning up the box, it'll run these commands here. And what we're doing is we're installing Docker and Docker Compose in order to spin up the Metasploit CTF. And then also you need to call a firewall resource just to set up the firewall on the Google instance. In this case, we're allowing 80 and 443 ingress, and we're just allowing that from all ranges. And then for the SSH, we're calling it a different variable, and we're allowing 22. And then the source ranges, in this case, is all the internet, but you could specify where you want. Like you could have a script and then use this as a variable to pull that IP address from your script, basically. And then it ties it all together with the compute network default. The outputs from Terraform is going to put out the output of the IP address. And then the only other weird things I'll get into is whenever we tie in Guacamole with Terraform. So again, this project here, without of course my Google Cloud JSON and the SSH keys, will be up on my GitHub repo either tonight or tomorrow. So again, you could use this. You just would need to change um, that authentication for JSON, and the name of the project, which is this one right here. You need to specify whatever project ID that you end up coming up with, and that's just based on Google at that time. All right. So then Guacamole setup gotchas. Guacamole using this Docker Compose container was the easiest way to do this. It worked consistently. I had no problems. It was just beautiful how this set up. Oops. So if you've never seen Guacamole, this is what the interface looks for Guacamole. Again, if you ever see it, Guacadmin and Guacadmin are the default creds. And you can see that there's no connections here. In the settings for Guacamole, you can add users, you can add groups. So again, you could specify users to be a part of groups, and then groups can be added to connections. So again, this is a way to manage these connections, even manually if you needed to, and it provides you great control over this. And then there's preferences if you needed those, change passwords, how to do enumerations. Inside the connections, again, you can click New Connection. And like I said, Guac supports VNC, RDP, Telnet, and SSH. And then depending on which connection you select, you just fill out the data and save it. And then so when the user logs in, all they see is a connection on their front page, and I'll show that here in a minute. They don't get any creds, they don't get any IP addresses. All they get is a link to click, and they click that link and they log into that instance. And so this helps you out with any of those lab environments that you're running or anything like that. If you're providing infrastructure on a consistent manner, then this allows you not to have to worry about what was that key that I need to pass, how do I pass it secretly, things like that. All right, so we'll put this back at home. All right, so before I go further, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off because the job takes about 8 minutes. So in Rundeck, once you set up your projects, you define jobs, and you can see here that I have created a job called Deploy Google. And so you can also see the history that I ran. You can see that it was successful and things like that. Um, so I'll show you editing the job later, but in Rundeck, you can set options, and what I have here is I have options set up. I'm gonna put 5 minutes. So what this is gonna do is take this input, it's going to use that in one of the commands that it executes later on. I have my infrastructure auto destroying, and it's minutes, not days, but just to kind of show for the demo. So I'll run this job now. And once you click that job, what you'll see is all the stuff running basically. So while that's running, I'll finish up the presentation. So again, the users would have login access to Rundeck and Guacamole. They would never see anything in Terraform. Again, your Terraform server would have your keys and things like that, or have your infrastructure as code, or have the things like we said here, where like in Guac, I kind of have my creds exposed, and that's just because of the reason that I had to tie Terraform to Guacamole. Um, and in the blog post I'll post later too, I'm hoping to write a Guacamole plugin for Terraform so you don't have to do that. Is that it? All right, yep, so that is it. All right, so like I said, you can check the status of each one of these jobs as they run, and you can see the detailed portions of what's going on. So we can see right here, this is Terraform, this is the output of Terraform. It's creating a project, uh, creating a network inside the red team dev. And this is going to take a couple minutes to spin up. Uh, and what we'll see here is the infrastructure. Once that starts spinning up, I'll have instances inside my Google Cloud platform. And again, you don't have to tell this to your users. You don't have to show your users this. They will get a connection inside Guacamole here once this gets all done. Another cool feature that I liked about Rundeck is that you see the bar up top here, and this kind of gives you a progress of what's going on and how long it's going to take. And again, I'm averaging 8 minutes for deployment, and that's spinning up one instance with a Docker container inside for Metasploit. All right, let's see. How are you populating Guac connection configs? Yeah, so that would be a good segue right now. Awesome question. So Guac has an API, and what I ended up doing was parsing the API and then writing a Python script to kind of take in parameters and then call that API and do the tasks that I need. So every Guac connection needs a authentication token, and so the three scripts I ended up coming up with was guac auth, guac new host, and guac remove host. So guac auth will take a username, password, host, and port, and then make the API call to the URL, which is just API tokens, and then get the code. And so then you pipe that into xargs and then make the next call, which is guac new host. And this takes in so much more data, and why I want to develop a guac plugin, because this is running on via Python, the host, the port, the authentication token, the type, the host port, the IP address, the name server, the username, and the private key. And I'll show you um, on the output, you'll see that. So again, any user that had access to that will be able to see that private key basically get spit out by Terraform to pass that along. But that's kind of the way I had to wire it together. Um, and the other gotcha with this is that the data here is via post, and so I'm just kind of posting all connections to root. Um, and one of the ways I wanted to do eventually is that you specify like a user also as an option, and so you could give certain users connections to those. I maybe even add like another job where you just add users to connections and things like that. But again, having a Guac Terraform module would make this so much more easier without having to kind of wire this like this. So yeah, this is basically setting up all the parameters. Let me put this where word wrap so you can kind of see this better. There you go. So you can see here that it's the parent identifiers root, which means that it's available to everyone. The name is the host name that was created. The protocol is SSH. So this is hard coded to just SSH. So this wouldn't support RDP or anything like that. Again, with an actual provider, I could make that a variable and make it easier to call, like in Terraform. And then taking in the port. What else? There's the host name, the username. There's the private key, and then that just makes that call. And then to remove the host, um, I'm doing a little bit of trickery on that one, and this is kind of where the connections get added as like a number in Guacamole, so like be like connection 27. And so what I ended up doing, you can kind of see, is that I'm stepping through all child connections and then looking for the name that you specify to delete it. So that was kind of a way to implement a search function for searching for a host, and to delete that out of there. And then once I find the ID, then I'm just submitting the token to basically delete that. So we're doing a delete request delete, and then calling API sessions data post SQL connection, and then that string ID, the ID number that we found based on the name. And that took a while to figure out. All right, let's see. All right, so that looks like we're done. Awesome. So everything's good, clear here, right? If we refresh our connection here on Guacamole, there's our connection right there. So this is what your users would normally see, is just this connection. They click this connection, and it SSHs them directly into Google without having to provide them any credentials or anything like that. And we can see that I have a Metasploit, like I said, a Docker container running. And so if we do sudo docker attach, that is running straight Metasploit. At any time, you could click away from this browser. You can click back. That connection stays open. That's available for you at any time. And like I said, we can see here under connections now, we have that HTTPC2, and that's all that the Rundeck did, is kind of post that in there. Post all that connection data in there. HTTPC2, there's the root location, there's the IP address and port, username, private key. I'm not scrolling any further down so you guys can copy the private key and SSH in. It's all right, it'll destroy in like 5 minutes anyway, so. But yeah, so that was kind of what I ended up doing, tying 3 different technologies together to make this all work. The other part I could show you here is for Rundeck. Like I said, these are jobs, and so let me click on jobs here. Yeah, so I'm hosting Rundeck on my own local system, on my network. You could put it wherever you wanted. All right, so again, this was a job that was a one-click thing that you saw, besides selecting the options. And the way Rundeck works is you define a workflow. So in this case here, I have an option, and I only allow for you to select 1 through 5, basically, for days. And then this is the commands that it's running, but it's running those commands on the Terraform server. So it's copying the source code to temp and then deploying that from temp, generating some SSH keys. So the keys generated every time. You could do it wherever you want. You could run Rundeck any system. Same thing with Guacamole and Terraform. And that's the cool part about this, is that you could run it from anywhere. You don't have to do it on-prem. I just choose to put it on-prem because it's, I can control the security and who can access the login pages. So then the next instruction here is to deploy that infrastructure. So we're cd into the Guacamole directory. We're doing a Terraform init to initialize all those plugins, and then Terraform apply auto approve. So auto approve means that it will just go ahead and say yes. And then the cool part about this, the self-destruct part, is this command right here. And this took me a little bit to figure out, is that we're calling at, which is like a cron job scheduler, and you can say for at now plus whatever the option is, which in our case we did 5, and then I'm doing minutes, but you could put days. and then it runs a file, and in that file is the destroy command, and that destroy command will destroy the infrastructure and then remove the directory from the server. So we can see here it's CDing into Guacamole, then doing a Terraform destroy, auto approve, and then removing the directory. And this is just to save space on the server. Okay, that should be, let's see if that's been about 5 minutes. If it's been 5 minutes, then everything. Are Rundecks themselves exportable or and shareable things? I.e., could you export your 4 steps combined into a book? Yeah, so let's look at that. You could take, if I remember right, I think it's an XML format if I remember right. Actions. Yep. So download job definition XML right there. So then you could export that and send that, to a different thing. Yeah. And that's just the open source version. So that's what was really cool. And it took a while in researching to find this type of technology to run this type of jobs. Um, Again, the idea was some kind of self-service portal where I could have people log in and just do this without having to add them to things. So let's refresh this and see if this is self-destroyed already. Should be, and there you go. See, it's already destroyed. Yeah, so you can leave, with Guac, you can leave all the sessions running. Um, and again, whenever you log back in, that connection will be there, and you just click that connection, and you'll SSH back to where you were at before. And that's the cool thing about Guac. You could literally pen test from your mobile phone. So that's all I had to. Yeah, and copy paste works too. Yeah, it'll ask to access your copy and paste your clipboard. Yeah, and it supports 2FA, which is cool. Again, if you really get into user management, it does support LDAP. It was not hard to set up LDAP. Um, so Guac has 2FA. Yep, it totally does. It's a little bit more complex to set up, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's not right there. You'll have to add like a plugin. No more Tmux, Google Auth. Yeah. So again, that's a little bit more complex and more into it. Oh, hold on, J-Hole. I'll let you post that link. Sorry, that's just a or here, I'll post it for you. There you go. Yeah. Any other questions on this? I hope you guys can see how like very useful this is. How it makes my job easier. Um, and again, you can install Tmux on there if you wanted to. Um, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, I will have a blog post out either tonight or tomorrow, and the code for deploying the Google platform stuff. Like I said, it's hard to kind of tell you what permissions to add to Google because it's just so many of them. And all I can tell you is experiment, experiment, experiment on that. That was the biggest thing. Um, I created a role and then I assigned that role. So this is a role, Terraform account's a role. And then under service accounts, I have a Terraform user and I assign them that Terraform role. And that way, yeah, you can, well, so you can deploy your infrastructure anywhere there's a Terraform provider. So, and again, Terraform supports many different things like EXI, Proxmox. Um, oh man, there's so many. AWS, GCP, Azure. Yeah, here you go. Datadog, you can manage DNS with it. So that was another thing too. We would set up our phishing domains and everything. So you could tie that instantly with the DNS. I would set the DNS to be a short TTL, and then as soon as the infrastructure gets spun up, I would have Terraform use that IP address to update the DNS. So that's just the main providers, and then they have community providers too. So there's Major Cloud there. I hope everyone got something out of this tonight. I was really trying to get a lot of people on here just to kind of show this combining of technologies and how useful it can be for you if you're doing any type of training, any type of development labs or anything like that, where you've probably set up a VM 30 different times and you wrote down all the steps, but doing it this way kind of makes it easier for you to have that infrastructure documented and make it repeatable. Um, yeah. All right. Thanks again to everyone for taking the time, hanging out with me, and I'm glad that everyone could join, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Like I said, follow the socials. I'll have a Medium post. I'm gonna look it over one more time and then post it, and then same thing with the GitHub. The GitHub will have the Google Terraform code so that you can deploy. You'll just need to again generate a service account, and then when you generate that service account, it will give you a JSON, and you'll put the JSON in the gcloud.json, and that will should allow you to deploy. If you guys got any questions or anything comes up, uh, please let me know. Oh, the Docker image? Yeah, sure. I could show that off real quick. Maybe. If VS Code's gonna, and that Docker image will be in there too. Yeah, it looks like VS Code's gonna die on me. I'm probably killing all my my processing power. Come on. So if you've never used VS Code, one of the cool features is that it can SSH into other instances, and you can edit code on that instance, and that's what I'm doing here. So this is the Docker file. Again, this will be in that GitHub repo, but it's basically pulling Kali, rolling latest. It's doing an app get update, and then installing Metasploit framework and post SQL, and then running the post SQL service. All right, come on. And then running a service command for PostSQL and MF console. And then I'm using a Docker Compose file to be able to detach it from the console so that you can just attach back to it. And that's just mounting to the host network to accept any incoming connections. And then also mounting a volume. So you could do payload generation inside Metasploit and save it onto the volume directly. Okay. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up there. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on me Twitter, um, and I can try to help you out as much as possible. Again, this is gonna depend on your setup and things like that. Um, but yeah, enjoyed everyone. I'm glad everyone joined, and you all have a good night and stay safe.